think you all know Saray, and if you all want to mute yourselves, or we can mute you, I'll mute myself in a minute. Saray, of course, is the executive director of Mercaz. We've been getting a lot of PR out through Women's League for people to vote, but at least all of you could have a really clean, clear sense of the directions and why. So we thought it would be helpful if Saray, right from the horse's mouth, let's get Debbie. She's got to be kidding. Okay, can't talk right now. So we wanted to make sure that you not only understood the process, but anything you want to know about why this is so important. So Saray can do from soup to nuts. And
so I'm actually not quite sure where to begin with this group, because most of you know about the World Zionist Congress. Several of you are on the slate and have been involved with this before. That 40 years ago, the conservative movement decided it was time for us to officially be at the table. The conservative movement was Zionist from the start, but we were focusing on other issues and we didn't really involve in the politics of World Zionism. But we had lots of things going on, and lots of conservative Jews were involved in other Zionist organizations. The World Zionist Organization actually, it was founded, and I'm sure you know, was created by Theodor Herzl, was founded in 1897, the first World Zionist Congress in Basel, and it was the World Zionist Organization with its partner, the Jewish Agency, which it created, which ultimately led to the establishment of the State of Israel. But in 1948, the WZO didn't go away. It took on it's really an NGO. It took on roles that the Israeli government couldn't really handle. It does a lot of the extra pieces, adding quality to life to Jews in Israel and in the diaspora as well. It's the one body where world Jewry can come together and sit at the same table. So the World Zionist Congress meets every 5 years, and the delegates are elected from all over the world. The United States has 29% of the delegates. Israel has 33. Israeli delegates are chosen based on the elections to the Knesset. It's clearly a political entity going back to its roots, where the parties, for the most part, in the World Zionist Organization are the parties that are in the Knesset. And then there are the rest of us. So 40 years ago, the Reform and the Conservative movement joined. There was Artza for the Reform movement and Mercaz for the Conservative movement. We are an international organization. We represent conservative Jews worldwide. And our representation is based on the election of delegates in each country. The United States, with 29% of the delegates, will elect 152 delegates to this Congress. It's a parliamentary system, so you vote for a slate, not individuals. Mercaz represents the entire conservative movement, so the slate consists of people from the entire conservative movement, including some of you on this call. So we hope you will be joining us in Israel in October. But in order for us to be there, we need to get out vote. And the delegation is determined by the percentage of the vote we receive. This year, this is proving to be a major challenge because more people are voting. And while we're very proud of the job that we've done in getting out the word, and more conservative Jews have voted, that as far as we can tell, and we can only tell those who have gone through our website.
I don't know what you can do, but you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up. I don't know why.
Me either.
So more than half the number of conservative Jews who voted 5 years ago have already voted. So that's great. And we have over 200 congregations that are running active campaigns. And that's great too. But it looks like more than double the number of American Jews that voted 5 years ago will vote. So we could find ourselves in a position where we double the number of people who vote, and we actually get your mandates. So that's the challenge at the moment, that we have to keep up with the other Zionist organizations. There are 15 slates this year. 10 of them are right-wing. We are the most centrist of any of the slates that are currently running. We work hard to be centrist because our job is to represent conservative Jews. And our members run the gamut politically. So our real issue is religious pluralism and quality of life in Israel. Our issue is making sure that Israel is inclusive, that there's an understanding that there are many valid ways to be Jewish. Conservative Judaism, Conservative Judaism being very high on our list, but that there are other ways, and they need to be accepted. And we object to the fact that the Shia has the right to make decisions that impact on us. Our rabbis are rabbis. Our conversions are legitimate halachic conversions. Our weddings are legitimate weddings. And, in our rabbis, women are allowed to be rabbis. We believe in egalitarian prayer. And that's really the biggest piece that we are concerned about. We're also clearly concerned about the treatment of everyone in Israel. And Israel up to the promises that were made in the declaration of the establishment of the state, and that people be treated equally. We're clearly concerned about the peace process. Despite what ZOA has said, we oppose BDS, that we support the state of Israel. We want a secure state for Israel. So on these issues, we certainly have a lot in common with the other slates. But what's unique about our slate is that our slate is about gaining support for all our institutions in Israel. And that's why it's important that conservative Jews vote for Mercaz. Margie, you have a question?
So I want to make sure I heard the word, because you're really hard. So that what the institutions that we're inclusive of or cooperate with, I missed that last sentence, and I don't know who you're referring to. I think you said.
What I'm talking about is that the reason why, even if politically you might share views with other slates, it's important to vote for us because we're the only slate that's working on supporting our own institutions. The Schechter Institution,
Okay.
the Schechter Institute,
Okay.
the Egalitarian Kotel, our 80 Kehilot, and the WZO functions outside of Israel as well. It does not function very much in North America, but they do function in Europe and in South America, where we have a large presence, particularly in South America, and an increasing presence in Europe. And what we're doing is we're strengthening the Jewish people, because we're bringing people closer to Judaism by showing them that there's more than one way to be Jewish. And we're speaking their language. We're doing very well in our programs, and we need the support from the World Zionist organization. And in addition to our needing the support, we also want to make sure that the programs that they run are in sync with our ideology and with our theology. And that happens by us gaining a seat at the table, or more seats at the table. The number of delegates that we have to the Congress will determine the number of seats that we have on the Vada Poel. It will determine the number of seats we have on the Jewish Agency Board and on the Karen Kayemet Board. It will also speak volumes to people and government of Israel about how concerned American conservative Jews are with Israel and our commitment to Israel. So while this isn't a government institution, and it will not be up to WZO to decide if it's one state or two states, that all of that will be determined by the government. But this is our opportunity to stand on behalf. And that's why it's extremely important that we get out the vote.
Lori Snow had a question.
Please unmute yourself. Still muted. Now, no, you just muted again. You're muted.
She knows. You read her lips.
Now.
Oh. No,
No.
you did it again.
Who's got the controls? Can somebody unmute her?
I'll unmute you. Lori, don't touch anything.
Thank you.
Okay. We should be able to hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of this is new to me, which is why I'm on the call tonight. I don't really understand. You mentioned that the votes determine our place on several other groups. I didn't know who any of those groups were. And I don't understand how, with there's 15 groups voting, how our numbers determine our Mercaz slate getting voted in. So that's two different questions.
Okay, so I'll answer the second one first because that's the easier one. It's a parliamentary system. So you vote for a party. And based on the percentage of the votes that you receive, that determines the percentage of mandates that you get. So there are 152 seats. If we got 10%, we would have 15 delegates, or 15.2 if you know how to make a 0.2 person. But we would have 15 delegates. So that the number of votes, it's a percentage. In the same way that that the Israeli Knesset is elected. They're elected by party. You vote for a party, not for a person. So you vote for Mercaz, and we get the number of seats equivalent to our percentage of those. Does that make sense? Not the American system, you vote for your particular representative. Lori, did you understand that? Or is she frozen?
So it's not the government. It's the WZO has X amount of dollars to distribute as well. So doesn't it affect how many seats you have in whatever seats, delegates, that you get more funding from that as well?
You do get more funding. Some of it is direct funding based on the number of seats you have. And some of it is by having influence that we determine projects that are run and the kinds of things that they will be funding, which would be across the board. So it goes both ways. But yes, the short answer is yes. The more seats we have, the more money we will get.
For our conservative agenda. For
Yes.
our conservative agenda issues that we want funded, then we would have a portion of the funding depending on the percentage of delegates.
Sort of. We
Sort of.
have more influence. It's
More
not that if we have 10% of the delegates, we get 10% of the funds.
Okay.
But we have more influence on where funds go. And that would make a difference on how we vote. It's a government system. It was the model for the government before the state. Governments are way more complicated than that. But the short answer is yes. The more votes we get, the more money we will have. And the more likely that the programs that are created by the WZO will be programs that we can use and that the funding will go to projects that we care about. So that's part of it. Now, in terms of who the other agencies are, Karen Kayemet is the Jewish National Fund, which when we were all growing up was about trees. It's now about way more than trees, but it's also about the environment, about quality of life in Israel. So that's one. And the other is our partner agency, the Jewish Agency, which works with the World Zionist organization and also has representation from federations and from major donors. It works on aliyah, it works on absorption, it works on settlement, a whole variety of other institutions. It does some similar work to the World Zionist organization, and it has some unique responsibilities. Lori, was that helpful?
Very, thank you.
Eileen Rubin had a question?
Yeah, and whatever I ask stays here. I just want you to know, I feel comfortable with this group like I'm among friends, but I was curious about this. So if it sounds, whatever. Anyway, so I was looking at a couple of the other slates, and I'm looking particularly at, of course, Artsakh, which I knew what that was, and Hatikva.
Yes.
And I feel like, are we hurting each other by dividing like this? Wouldn't it be better if we would be together?
So we do go into coalition with those groups.
Okay.
We do work with Artsakh, and we have a lot in common with Artsakh. But Artsakh wants to fund the reform movement projects, and we want to fund ours. And their people aren't voting for us, and we're not voting for them. We do go into coalition, so that's great. Hatikva has also been a very good partner for us. They really do care about our values. The head of their movement in Israel is Bushi Herzog, who is the chair of the Jewish Agency Board. And he was the person who donated the first Torah to the egalitarian Kotel. So he's a big supporter of ours.
Mm-hmm.
We work with
politically, they're not there. So,
well,
but so
he's out of the government now. No, but the other piece of it is we do work with them. They do care about a lot of our values. They care about pluralistic Judaism.
right.
They move further to the left than Mercaz will ever go.
Right.
Our positions are nowhere near as far to the left as theirs. But we work with them. And, and they historically, they were one of the founding parties of the WZO, and labor ran the government through the 70s. They're a little weaker now, actually, a lot weaker. But yes, they are partners. And here's the other piece of it. If you think about what's been happening in Israel with elections, where Gantz won the majority, but he couldn't put together a coalition. So we don't really want to be in a position where we couldn't put together a coalition. So if people are secular and they're more comfortable voting for another slate, Hatikva is a fine slate to vote for. They'll go into coalition with us and we'll have partners, and they'll support us in pluralism. But they're not the same. They're not the same because they are not out there to support the Schechter Institute, or to support the Conservative Yeshiva, or to support our rabbinical school in Potsdam, or to support the growth of Kihilot. They're not opposed, but that's not their agenda. So
But
it's slightly different.
I know the difference between all that, or among all that, but the basic underlying concept of those things, like for arts, and Hatikva really is different, but arts, other than it being reform, they still, to me, seems like they want the same things that we do, basically.
So we partner with them.
Yeah, so it makes more, we have more in common than we have not, it seems to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will tell you that at the American Zionist movement, they're our big partner, that we really work closely with them. And it's fine. It's okay.
Are there more Reform Jews in Israel? I'm curious about that.
I don't know that that's true. We have more Kehilot than they do.
Oh, okay.
They have a bigger political movement because they have the Israel Religious Action Center.
Right.
So they are more politically active, but we have 80 Kehilot. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course they have Hebrew Union College. We have the Schechter Institute. So we work closely with them and we're on very good terms with them.
And how about Women of the Wall? Where do they fit into this as far as we're concerned?
They're not really officially part of this, but clearly we are supporters of Women of the Wall. And, and it's interesting, we're supporters of Women of the Wall, not because separate women's prayer is our issue. Our issue is egalitarian, but we're pluralistic. And because we're pluralistic, we're very strongly supportive of them because we believe they have a legitimate right to be there. And actually, we have a lot of people who are involved with them and who go to the Rosh Chodesh, minyan on a regular basis. So, of course, we're supportive.
Tell me the
Absolutely.
first sentence again. You said we're egalitarian, we're not.
We don't want separate prayer.
Right.
We're not opposed to it. We think
Right,
people should
right.
be able to pray any way they choose. So, if you asked us, our prime issue is egalitarian.
But why is that different from reform? You said a sentence in the beginning that, I mean, I understand what.
No, we're not different. No, what I said about the reform movement is that they put a lot of their emphasis on Israel, on political action, on really lobbying for their rights through the Israel Religious Action Center. We put a lot of our energy into building Kihilot. And so it's the same project. We're just doing it from the ground up with 80 different Kihilot, whereas they're spending more time lobbying politically. But
Which is the same here.
We need both.
Which is the same in our country, right?
Yes, we need both.
Right.
So, and now we do spend time at the Knesset. Yishar Hess does a lot of work there with the sponsors of the Jewish Pluralism Watch. That's one of our projects. So we do a lot of that. So that's, but we're big partners with Reform. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. A good question. Thanks, Eileen. Anybody else have a question for Saray? We have some new people that got on, but I don't know what part they've heard or not, but.
One of the things I did want to, and I thank you, Saray, for making the time to be with all of us. It's so important. One of the things I wanted you to touch on was literally how each of our women can get the vote out and how easy it can be by using just voting on our phone and how
I'm going to show you a video on how to vote. Okay, but I'm warning you, it may change tomorrow, but it might get easier because we're looking at something. So can I share my screen?
Share a screen, yes. The gals on the phone, how long is the video?
Less than a minute.
Oh, okay. So the gals on the phone, when we're done with it, Rabbi will give a quick, or Saray will give a quick, what you missed. I guess you can hear it.
Okay. Here you go.
Minutes.
Am I sharing?
Not yet.
Okay, how can I share my screen?
You go to the bottom that says share. I think,
Oh, I can get in? Okay,
I believe you should be able to.
Share.
All right, good.
Let's see if it's going to do it.
Yep, you did it.
Let's see if I can make it bigger. Okay. No?
Actually.
Okay.
Is a place that from
There we
every
go.
corner of the globe, the connection between Israel and the Jewish people has deep roots. Israel is a place that inspires us and challenges us.
Wait, this is the
moves
wrong
us
video.
and mystifies us. It
It's
is a
cute
place
though,
that
but,
It's a very nice video, but it's not the one I wanted to show you.
okay.
Let me find it. That's a different easy video. Here we go. Is this it? I had it before.
2 minutes. Vote in the World
Not a
Zionist.
2-minute video though.
Press the little.
from every corner of the
No, I'm clicking the right one and it's not showing up.
year in funding for Israel and Jewish communities worldwide. It's to the
Okay, I set this up.
from every
Here,
corner
this
of the
is the
globe.
one I want. This is really weird.
If for some reason it doesn't work, if you send that link to Rabbi.
Yeah, we can put
send
it
to
up.
each of our participants.
Israel
Okay. I assure you, I played this.
No,
We
it's
will-
okay.
Okay.
So can you talk and look at the same time?
Yes,
So how many votes did we get last time?
about 10,000.
And we don't know how many of the votes that have come in so far for us, right?
We don't know. So the reason we have been asking people to go through the Mercaz website to do this is if you go through our website and you fill out that form, it gives us a clue as to how many people have voted. Some people have been having a problem voting. We know that. It's a very bizarre system because there are many more people who have voted. More than 30,000 people have voted. So clearly the system works. So yeah, it works. So, but when there's a glitch, there's a glitch. And I just found the video. Here it is.
Yes, I see it. 58-second one. Okay.
Oh yeah? Go. Okay, come on, go.
Or not. And the Susan Boyle.
There you go. This can all be done in your phone. This isn't my video. I just want to say that. So the problems with voting have been as follows, just so you know. Currently, you need 2 different codes. And we've asked people to go to the Mercaz website. If you go to mercaz2020.org, on the homepage, it asks you your name, your email number, and your home congregation. If you don't want to give us your home congregation, it's not a required field. And then you click and it takes you to the election site. At the election site, it asks you for the information that you were just asked for. You know, you just saw your name, your address, your email address, your phone number, and you click at that point. At that point right now, you will then get a verification code. Either if you choose a text, it'll go to your phone. And if you choose email, it will go to your email. The purpose of this is to prevent bots. We want to know that you're a real person, you're not a robot going through, and that you're a real person voting. This was imposed by the election company. Mercaz had no say in this. It was about security on the site to prevent fraud. After you get that code, it's going to ask you for your credit card information. There's a fee of $7.50 for everybody over the age of $25. Mercaz does not get 1 penny of this. The money goes to cover the cost of the election. And actually, it's really okay that we have to pay for this, because if we didn't, it would cost the World Zionist organization $1 million to run the elections. We can all think of much better use, of lots of better uses for $1 million. Steve, will translate into more money into projects we care about than if they had to spend $1 million to run the elections. So at that point, after you pay, you get a PIN. When you enter your email, and this is tricky, remember to use the same email address. So for those of us with more than 1 email address, For all of you who have email addresses at WLCJ, don't use them. Use your personal email address, and remember to use the same email address every time you have to enter it, because that will mess up the system and you will not be able to find it. The second problem that's happening is sometimes, depending upon the browser you're using, the verification codes or the PIN end up in junk mail or spam. So if it doesn't come, check your junk mail or your spam. The third thing I now know, and believe me, I've taken a lot of these calls to help people vote, so I've learned some of these tricks. Don't close your browser when you go. If you're voting on your computer, get your code from your phone so that you leave the computer open. And if you need to do them both from either your phone or your computer, do it on a different window. Because if you close the browser before you get your verification code, it won't accept the code and you'll have to start all over again. We are trying to set up a new system, and I have a meeting tomorrow morning. We may be getting rid of the verification code and using one, recap or one of those kinds of things. We're trying to find out if we can make that work. But at the moment, there are 2 different codes, and each code can only be used once. It sounds terrible and that it's really bad, but 33,000 people have voted, so it obviously works most of the time. So there can be problems with it. Those are the problems we have run into. And believe me, if we get rid of one of the verification codes, we're going to send a blast email to the world saying it's easier to vote. If you had trouble, try again. So it hasn't gone unnoticed. And also, Mercaz is not being picked on in this. We're not special. The voting system is the same for everyone who's voting.
Okay.
So all 15 slates are dealing with identical issues. Okay? So that's the story. We have instructions on how to vote. We have sent them out. But I don't want to send you anything tonight because I want to find out what happens tomorrow morning. Because why send you something now if it's going to need to be changed tomorrow? And my sincere hope is it will be changed to make it just a little bit easier. My husband told me he voted in under 4 minutes. So when it works, it really works. When it doesn't, I could spend a half hour on the phone with somebody trying to do it. There are help desks at the top of the AZM website. There's a site that says help. Click on it and just type in on the email what your problem is. And we'll get you through it. I'm going to be out of the office for 2 weeks, but if you send me email that somebody's having a problem, when I get back and elections go through March 11th, that we will make sure that anybody who has a problem is voted. And if I can solve it by email, I will write to you. The other thing is there are 2 big pushes that we will have. One is Shabbat Shkalim, which is the Zionist Shabbat, stand up and be counted. We will be sending material out for that Shabbat. And, the Zionist shekel, it's a good time for people to vote. And the other push we will make is for Purim, which is the end, that the elections end on March 11th on Shushan Purim, and we will have materials for Purim. So that's what we're working on. We also have material for next week for Tu B'Shvat. And Tu B'Shvat is a good Zionist holiday. It's the Jewish National Fund, which was created by the World Zionist organization, and it's about strengthening and growing Israel. So good Zionist holiday, good time for people to vote.
Good. Barbara Ezring had a question.
Yeah.
And Jeanette does too.
How many did you say had registered through Mercaz so far?
We've had about 6,000 who have voted through us so far. But it's not an exact number. So the other thing I want to say is that some people are voting on paper ballots. There are people who are having a really tough time who either don't have an email account, don't like putting credit card information. You can use PayPal, by the way. Doesn't have to be a credit card. You can use PayPal, you can use Apple Pay. So there are other ways of doing it, but there's some people who are just computer phobic. Their is on our homepage, mercaz2020.org. It's on the bottom on the left. It's in bold and in caps. So you should be able to find the click here for it. It's a registration form and a ballot. You can print them back to back, so you don't need two pieces of paper. You can attach a check if you want to, or you can put your credit card information in. The registration form and ballot need to be in the same envelope, but if they're back to back, they really will be in the same envelope. And you need to put them in individual envelopes, one per person. Wives, you could put two in an envelope, but no more. Okay.
That was actually my question, because I've had a number of people in Florida who do not have emails, nor will they use computers. So we would have to print for them and
But you
take
can
them with them.
download the form and just print a few. in
Yeah,
the
so we would download them and take them, because they're not seeing anything that we're sending out. And I doubt if their congregations are printing them for them. I got lucky, by the way. I voted in a minute and a half, including the posting on Facebook that I voted. So I hit a good day.
See,
I
when
have
it
a
works,
question,
it works.
Ray.
Mhm.
When I registered for the delegate piece and I have my PIN number from that, I didn't get to vote yet, but I'm going to do it when we're done. I want to make sure I didn't screw it up. I use that PIN number.
That's the PIN number you use to vote. And that will take you no time. Once you've got the PIN, it takes 30 seconds, maybe.
I wanted to double check before I did. I waited for this and just,
Right.
of course, I don't want to screw it up.
But you can,
I'll get fired.
absolutely can do. Do you want me to show you where the paper ballot is? Or
No,
will
I
you-
think Jeanette will find it. Yeah.
Okay, it won't be a problem.
Thank
So,
you.
but absolutely give people paper ballots. You know, and if you want to bring paper ballots to an event, that's good. But I really recommend you print them back to back if you do it, because otherwise it's two pieces of paper and they need both. Okay, and the address is on there. They need to put them in the address. Do not collect them and put them in one manila envelope. If you're going to collect them, collect the individual envelopes and put them in the mail as individual envelopes.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions? Gloria, Barbara, Judy? You guys are good?
When are the votes counted? How soon after the election ends do they?
Well, they'll be counted immediately, but we have to wait for the paper ballots, all of which have to be
Okay.
postmarked by March 11th.
Faster than Iowa?
I certainly hope so.
God bless.
So, you know, and only two people can use one credit card. That's also a fraud prevention. Can you tell we had problems in the last election?
Thanks.
It was not, Mercaz has had no problems. We have played by the rules. And the other thing I have to tell you is everybody has to pay their own way. That we've had, you know, some people who have, rabbis who have said, oh, I'll pay out of my discretionary fund. Don't do that. Each person must pay his or her own fee. So, but it's $7.50. So you could spend more at Starbucks.
Not even for the coffee.
Anyhow, so that's the deal. And if anybody has any questions, please be in touch. Particularly if you have an interesting question, you might think of something nobody's asked yet, and we should know the answer.
And I want to say that we have two of our region presidents on the call tonight and one of our Torah Fund, two of our Torah Fund VPs. So if your regions are having events that aren't on Shabbat, it's so important that while you're with them at that moment, really sit and get people to vote right then and there. Because if you think about it, we have 40,000 women. And last time Mercaz got 10,000 votes. So if even a quarter of our membership voted 10,000, that would double the amount of votes that we had last time. So that was one of the reasons why Saray and I spoke about this, that it was so important to get our women from Women's League involved, because if each of us got more people to vote, just a quarter of us, it'd be so much more.
So the other thing is, if it is Shabbat, there are materials that are on our website that you can distribute.
Mm.
There, bookmarks, which are great for your Siddur. You know, you can get, and it has all the information. And in all honesty, you can hand somebody a paper ballot. We don't want them voting on Shabbat, but you can certainly hand them the ballot and ask them to vote after Shabbat.
Lori?
Is allowed on Shabbat because we are pluralistic. We are certainly not encouraging it or asking anyone to vote on. We'll ask people to make sure they vote, but not on Shabbat.
Give them out of Havdalah. Lori?
Yes.
There are several congregations in my region that have Reconstructionist rabbis. And I have noticed that the conservative movement and Mercaz information is not being shared the way I think it should be. I'm sort of in this constant thing with my synagogue president, sending information that I think should be posted. I don't know if there's a way for us to communicate better with synagogues that are in this situation, but to me, it's a real problem.
Well, we have called almost every congregation, and the RA has blasted, and the United Synagogue has
See,
blasted.
they're not RA. When you
But
got
they are they
Reconstructionist
United
rabbi, they're not part of the RA.
Look, every shul has multiple access from all these groups. So if they're not an RA rabbi, maybe they still belong to United Synagogue. If they don't belong to United Synagogue, their sisterhood belongs to Women's League. Whatever it takes for us to
Yeah.
get into that shul, we need to take advantage of those access points.
Yeah,
And
if
I don't think it's being done in a way that's necessarily getting through. Because honestly, I don't think that some of these people feel this is an important thing in their Reconstructionist mind.
I would disagree with that. The Reconstructionists have a slate. They're actually with Artza. So they may be actually pushing something else or conflicted by it.
I'm
But-
talking about pushing what we want. Because they're
Right.
in my mind, if they're a conservative synagogue, they should be having the conservative agenda. And at board meetings and things,
Right.
I bring things up. It's very frustrating to me.
All right, send me the list of the congregations and let me see what's happened, because we have called almost every congregation. We have people who have been on the phone, and we have contacted them, whether or not they're members of the RA, that we have gone through list after list after list. So if they're on the conservative movement list, we may well have spoken to them. The other piece of it is the fact that they're not doing something doesn't mean they haven't been contacted or pushed.
Understood. Thank you.
You know, so, and we have done it multiple times, you know, that somebody came to me with a congregation and said, oh, but you didn't contact them. And we've been tracking this. Not only had we contacted them, we'd contacted them 5 times. We had records of who we spoke to and what we sent out. So
I'm sure that's true. It's just very frustrating to me that when there's a Reconstructionist bent, it changes the synagogue. And when it's a conservative synagogue, I think they should be talking about things that are important to the conservative movement. They should be putting out the letters and things that come out when there's a tragedy. They should be talking about the things that are important to conservative people. Because then you have people saying, well, why are we part of the conservative movement? I think this is something that
I assure you, from this perspective, we are at least as frustrated as you are, if not more so, given the amount of time and energy we've been putting into trying to get it out. But if you
I
send me the
appreciate it.
list,
Thank you.
we will try again. And let's
That's
see.
why RA rabbis are a little different than others. So it's important to,
But
go
we
with
do
the
have some
movement.
non-RA rabbis who have been very supportive.
great, that's good.
So it, you know, it depends upon the person. It depends upon the
Right.
congregation. There's so many issues involved in this, but all we can do is try. And if there's a particular place, let's see if we can find the right person to make the call, because sometimes who makes the call makes the difference.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can do. Just send me the list.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Anybody else? I'm gonna sneeze. 1 minute.
And though our congregations will be getting the information about Shabbat, God bless you, Shabbat Shkalim and the Purim stuff, if you can send it to us, we'll distribute it as well.
Absolutely. It's going to everyone.
Awesome.
As soon as it's done, it's going out. We've been producing materials nonstop.
Yep.
I mean, the first thing that's going out is the Tu B'Shvat stuff is going tomorrow after
Oh,
Tu
okay.
B'Shvat Shkalim.
Perfect.
Suggestion might be
Judy, a little louder, honey.
A suggestion might be to put it in soft mono bags.
Oh,
Oh, that's a
where
good
have you
idea.
been, Judy? Now you share this idea?
It just came to me.
They just need to vote quickly since it's, what, 2 days before it ends?
Yeah, they would have to go
Right.
very quickly.
But that's okay. They can vote on the spot.
They don't
Right.
they don't get the bag unless they vote.
There you go.
Right there.
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies, if you have any questions, obviously, we know Mercaz's website, there's contact information on there. Rabbi can most likely answer your questions. And thank you, Saray, really for taking the time to do this. I know it wasn't a huge group, but these are influential women.
Okay.
So,
All right. If you have any questions, please be in touch. And thank you. The more women you can get voting from your sisterhood and the more contributions you can get, that's great. And we all know when the women do it, it gets done. Come on.
Amen.
We all know that.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you all for taking the time this evening. I hope this was helpful. And any questions you think of after, just shoot the rabbi a quick, I'm sure she'll respond in the middle of the night. Okay.
Okay.
Probably, and I'll be in touch with Saray.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you, Saray.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Good
good
night.
night.